The movie's over. We can talk about it.
That's right. I'm sorry, that movie just really sucked me in. Hey guys, welcome back to CollegeCinephile. Today we will be talking about A Quiet Place, which is directed by and stars John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Noah Jupp, and Millicent Simmons. So, did this new horror movie live up to the hype and leave audiences speechless? Or did it leave them wanting more? I'm here with Romeo and Juliet enthusiast Ian to talk about it. So, what did you think of A Quiet Place?
So, A Quiet Place was very original. There was a lot of times in it where I was expecting this kind of a common horror trope to happen, and then it went a different direction, and it caught me off guard, and I was actually spooked, a little bit scared, a little bit, because it was just very original, and it had a really cool plot, and I really liked what he did with it.
Yeah, like going along with the bit, yeah, the movie really sucked me in. I liked it. Like, I actually do recall a moment in the movie where there's like a brief moment where it got loud again, like music was playing, and since everyone was being so quiet like into the movie, as soon as that loud part hit, everyone started reaching for like their popcorn, their drinks. We did it too because we didn't want to make noise because, you know, the movie does a really good job of setting up this world, getting us into the story, and one of my biggest props to this movie is how detailed it is. The way John Krasinski crafts this world and how he has to have these people survive, and the way we see them survive for so long, like we know it doesn't just start at the beginning of the whole event that happens, like it's far into it, and so we see how they've adapted to this world, and I really like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing how they've lived so long, because like the movie starts, what I was really surprised with is that when it starts, there wasn't some over narration or just like compilation of news headlines to tell you what happened. They just throw you into it. They have to be quiet. Something kind of happens, and then it skips forward more, and you see how they've been living, and they've got like backup plans in case something goes wrong. They're very well prepared, and it just kind of shows in the story building how much they were able to put together, and how much they were able to build off of. Well, this is the idea that they have to be silent. Well, how would you walk around if it had to be silent? How would you cook if it had to be silent? What would happen if there was younger children? How would they play if it has to be absolutely silent? Like it kind of addresses that. And you told me something about the movie being about parents. What did you mean by that?
So I saw in an interview that John Krasinski stated that he wrote this script as like a love letter to his children, and you can kind of see that in the movie because the parents, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, who, by the way, do a fantastic job acting. They have great chemistry, and obviously they're married in real life, so that plays into it. But they did a fantastic job acting. Emily Blunt really carried a lot of her own scenes very well because she has a lot of tense scenes. So yeah, they had to. Their characters are really focused on protecting their children, and there's like this bearing theme of like they have to like sacrifice everything that they can just so that their children are safe, and something happens in the beginning that forces them to like make a couple decisions to help the children out more, and you can kind of see that it's just a love letter to his children saying like, I will always love you, I will always protect you no matter what.
Yeah, and it was just seeing that side of a horror movie was really cool, because I mean I sorry, I haven't seen a lot of horror movies, but of the ones that I have seen, it's normally about, you kind of end up rooting for the kind of the killer to kill everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, or at least in my experience, you see how they're doing it, or if it's a monster or whatever, and you are kind of invested with the people, but it's not focused on the people. It's focused on what is killing them, you know? But I really liked their use of communicating without talking in the movie, like throughout the entire movie. There's sign language throughout the entire movie. There's like very low spoken at a couple parts, and then there's some other times where they were able to yell and they were able to be loud enough. I was worried going in that the movie was going to be mostly silent the entire time, and which it's called A Quiet Place, so I was kind of prepared for that. But there was a lot of well-used like music coming in and like the sharp sounds for jump scares or whatever, but also finding ways to speak and try to be a little normal with all of this going on.
Yeah, the quiet element of this movie is really great. And then on top of that, they have a character that's deaf.
Yeah.
And the way they used her in the story, I found to be very effective. Like, she was not only a really great character, but the way they had a lot of the scares, like with her, because they have like when they cut to several characters, you can still hear like background sounds, but it's silent. But there's moments where it cuts to her and it's like completely silent, but you understand it because she's deaf. She wouldn't hear anything, and I like that. So going on that, the scares of this movie I really liked. Like there's a couple of like cliched scares, like the typical like random animal jump scare happens, but there's some scares that are like some genuinely good ones that like really, oh man, that caught me off guard. And the creatures themselves are really good. I really like the creature design. I found it to be like a hybrid of like a xenomorph from Aliens and a Demogorgon from Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
even that, it was still its own thing. Like the way it would listen to people and all that stuff. I don't want to give too much away of what the creature does, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked because there was times where they were interacting with. It would focus on the people having to be around this monster. In this monster, it is very humanoid shape, like a Demogorgon, and it highlights at parts how it was hearing everything. And I really liked that aspect. The budget for this was really cool because that monster is very well done. I was kind of trying to look for parts where it looked kind of like CGI looked kind of off, and I couldn't see any one particular scene where I was like, that looks weird, whatever. Like it was just straight on every single time. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. This movie was a really surprising experience. It was really good. Now, like, that's not to say that, well, at least for me, it wasn't perfect. Like, these people are really smart. It shows why they survived for so long. Mm-hmm. But I feel there's, like, a couple of, like, logical errors. Man, that's mainly, like, in a lot of horror movies. I think the biggest one I had a problem with is, obviously, because, like, it's a creature hunting them and stuff, they have to find a weakness. When the weakness is revealed, it's kind of like, okay, you've been trying to figure out this creature's weakness for so long. And why wouldn't you think of this being the weakness? Like, it's kind of obvious considering how the creature functions. And, like, I understand how the other characters struggle with it, but the main character, John Krasinski, you obviously that he's very smart. He has a whiteboard filled with all of his backup plans that he's got going on. And that didn't come across you. Maybe that might be its trigger, its weakness. I don't know. That to me was like, I
totally see what you're saying. I remember you talking about that being kind of your one bigger issue. Like there, not one, but there was a couple logic issues, and that being one of them. I did end up having a little bit of a problem with the way it ended. I liked the way it ended, but it, like we were talking last night, it seemed almost too cliche.
Yeah.
But it could have. It didn't end the way I expected it to. I will say that. After there was kind of a little part after the main climax, and I assumed it was going to end there. And then it went on for a little bit longer, and that little bit longer was, that addition was well crafted. And I also felt this entire movie that the pacing was very key. Because most of it takes place, like there's a little bit in the beginning of setting kind of the scene, but then most of it takes place in one day, in one night of things happening to their home with these monsters around. And it was just, that aspect is it's what I tend to look for, is pacing, because that was really my only gripe with Ready Player One, was that it went really hard and then it would slow down. And then it would pick back up, and it had a couple dips in it. And this movie, I felt, held a consistent, intense pace. It was just fantastic to enjoy.
Yeah, going back earlier a bit, like what you were saying, I did have a problem with the ending too. It was a little bit like, okay. Like to me, without giving too much away, it felt like that ending belonged more to an ending of an action movie rather than a thriller. So I was just like, okay. But like, you know, that doesn't hurt the movie too bad for me. And the pacing, yeah, like you can tell John Krasinski really crafted a well thriller. Like he knew what he was doing going in, and the movie runtime is only like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He kept it contained because he knew when the thriller gets too long, you start losing that anticipation and that anxiety. But yeah, he crafted it very well, like very well made movie on his part.
Yeah, and especially for a directorial debut, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And for it to be his first like big movie and having some big backing from like Paramount Pictures and some other stuff was very, very cool. I will say that a surprise, it's not really a spoiler, but a surprise that you pointed out, Michael Bay was heavily influenced this movie. Like he heavily influenced this movie.
He was an associate producer. That was the major shock to me. I was like, Michael Bay?
It was just like, what? And then you had said that you saw it before I even did on the credits, and I was like, what? We were both like, what's going on? And then I looked it up afterwards that he was the associate producer, and when Krasinski and some of his other writing pals were working on the script, they were prepared to do this movie, like fund it themselves and do it, like film it out in some farm in Iowa, so they get this like self-filming to save on money. But then Michael Bay came in and was like, I got you, and like apparently helped them with all of the CGI budget, and that's why they were able to do a monster as well as what they did. I keep saying monster. I mean, from the trailer, you can see it's an alien, but the alien was done really, really well, and you have to assume that Michael Bay had part of that.
Yeah, like honestly, like thinking about it, if that's Michael Bay's like ultimate goal, make a bunch of like cruddy Transformers movies to get a bunch of money so he can fund better movies, you know, I'm all for that. Like keep making them so you can fund other people. Like just write a script in like 5 minutes, ship it, make a movie, get the money, and film much better movies.
Absolutely.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that's the Michael Bay we want to see.
Heck yeah.
But overall, I would have to say that this movie it blew me away because, like I said, there's multiple parts where I thought that it was going to be, she's hiding in the closet. Oh, there the monster is, whatever. Like I thought it was going to be very cliche at parts, and there were a couple, but it was way different than I thought it was going to be, and it thoroughly surprised me, and it made it to where I was still like kind of tensed up after it ended too. Like it was thrilling the entire time. It like held you the entire time.
A really great thriller experience. I enjoyed it very much. Made me question getting popcorn or not because I didn't want to be too loud.
I look forward to seeing what else he can do, what else he's going to do, especially if it continues with him and Emily Blunt, because they were just fantastic.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe a sequel might be in the air.
That'd be cool.
Well, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and leave a like, a comment, or maybe even subscribe. What did you think of A Quiet Place? Comment down below. Ask us maybe what movies you want to see us review next. Maybe Romeo and Juliet. Who knows? Thank you for sticking around. And we'll see you next time.